would you say that SB277 would still conform to the CDC guidelines regarding a medical exemption?
There's no requirement in the law, and I challenge you to find any text in the existing code or in the bill that states that the physician has to exercise any more than their own professional judgment. That professional judgment, of course, subject to review by the medical board. And I mentioned the medical board has never investigated or removed the license from someone for granting a medical exemption for immunizations. So the law very clearly states it is up to the physician's judgment. The existing law, we've taken an amendment to clarify that point. The Department of Public Health doesn't review the exemption and has to approve it or review it. Right? It's simply the physician writes a note to the school saying that there is what's the reason, duration, which could be indefinite, could be forever if that's an ongoing condition, and they sign it, and the child now has a medical exemption. It is very straightforward, very simple, and it's really the physician exercising their professional judgment. CDC has guidelines, but those are guidelines from the CDC. CDC has guidelines for a lot of things, and so they're used by physicians to help us be able to be sure we're applying the best science and knowledge, right? They take and that's what they provide. But it's not a mandate or requirement that physicians, there's nothing, again, in the bill or existing code, I challenge you to find it, that says that a physician has to apply only the CDC guidelines.
And then finally, we have an amendment regarding the medical exemption in a physician's judgment. And I've heard from a number of constituents and Californians regarding concerns that a medical exemption is difficult to obtain, or was difficult to obtain. I believe that current law states that a physician has complete professional discretion over the writing of a medical exemption. However, I have asked the author to take an amendment to clarify that a medical exemption is entirely within the professional judgment of a physician. And we have agreement on that amendment?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, yet, this area concerns me somewhat, only because I want to know, given if we lose the opportunity to have personal beliefs not available, in the case of the gentleman who was talking about his daughter who's perfectly healthy, if the first child has a reaction, would there be a medical exemption for the second child?
So the medical exemption...
Does it clearly allow that?
So what the law, the bill and the law clearly states is that the medical exemption is at the professional judgment of the physician. We took an amendment to absolutely clarify that point. And so what that means is that if the physician feels that a sibling of a child, because the condition may be genetic, it may be family-related, that therefore that child is also at increased risk, even though that child has not yet suffered harm, then they can exercise their professional judgment to provide an exemption. It's the professional judgment of the physician in terms of what they believe that if the risk of the immunization is going to be such that it's going to put that child at certain or near, basically at increased harm, then they can provide that exemption. And so that's to the judgment of of actually any licensed physician in the state of California. There's no requirement that you even have to go to a physician that you've seen multiple times in the past. The law clearly states that any licensed physician in the state of California can provide a medical exemption. Mainly, what they have to do is document the reason. They document the duration, and there's no limitation. That could be indefinite, and they have to sign it, of course, saying that they're as a licensed physician. Then you get a medical exemption. I would invite families who have this problem to have their physician write a letter to that effect and send it to my office, declaring that they are uncomfortable giving a medical exemption because they feel that there is pressure or there's some other external influence aside from their professional judgment. I would point out that the medical board, to my knowledge, has never investigated or removed the license of a physician for granting a medical exemption for immunization that I'm aware of. If a physician feels that there's a genetic association and a sibling, a cousin, some other relative, it's not safe for vaccine, they can provide a medical exemption for that vaccine. There's no limitation.